All right.
All right.
There you go.
We're rolling.
Yo, we're hot.
Howdy.
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah, shoot.
wait for it. Wait for it. Rome is burning.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Gotta start it right.
Yeah. Please like, share, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. You can listen anywhere. Spotify, Amazon, Apple, obviously YouTube, Rumble. We're on all the socials. Yep, mine's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
Yeah, just about anywhere. You can find us.
Did you watch that David Goggins video I sent you? Him and Joe Rogan, the podcast.
Part of it. I didn't finish that one.
Yeah,
that was part of it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. Most of Rogan's videos are.
Yeah, no doubt. But the message as far as from Goggins, and he was talking on there, and he was talking about I don't remember the exact terminology he used. I think he said front loading.
Yeah.
But he was saying that he said it's a gamble whether or not you'll live to be old or not.
Right.
But he said, what if you do?
Yeah.
You know, like what measures you take in your life, you know, pretty much to have a good quality of life when you're older.
Right. Yeah.
And it started making me think about that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, right?
Right, because there's, you know, there are no guarantees, right?
No.
But what if you do end up living to be old? What kind of quality of life do you have physically and financially?
Yeah.
You know, it's a big question. And which led me into, we got into one of our podcasts about marketing and manipulation, and I was talking with my brother the other day, and he said, you gonna go buy an ice fishing suit this year? I'm like, no. He's like, why not? And I'm like, well, why? He said to stay warmer. I'm like, well, how cold do I get between the truck and where I put my shanty?
Right.
I got a heater in my shanty. And he goes, and I said, so somehow I'm going to be a better fisherman because my suit says down the side Vexilar?
Right.
That's what they're selling you, though. They're selling you, they're praying. So it got me thinking about the conversation, right? Because in the moment, it takes time to break these things down. And we're trying to do it in real time in one take. You're right.
Yeah, one take. I mean, this ain't scripted at all, right? We don't even know what we're going to talk about.
In the conversation with my brother, I got a better understanding of what you were saying about the deceit and manipulation and marketing. And then I started thinking about influencers. Think about that word, influencers.
And there's a bunch of them all
social
over
media, right?
It's full
influencers.
I follow a lot of them, actually. You know, I do. Yep.
And so I guess I can see your point now.
Marketing powerful.
Right. Now I'm in that conversation. I started seeing your point about it's easy for me to recognize it, but how easy it is for others to miss it.
Right.
They send people out there, influencers, right?
Yep.
Whether they carry that title or not, right? They pay people that do something professionally that you wish you could spend all your time doing, right?
Right.
So somehow it almost seems like in your mind you go, well, if I have this stuff, I'll be like that.
Yes.
Which isn't real. You still got to work your 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, and you get one day to go do that thing.
Just tapping into that fantasy.
Right. Right. Sure. And that's how it
play
started.
On those emotions. And,
right.
You know, and I guess sometimes you can justify some stuff. You know.
No,
I fish on the big water, so it takes a while to get out to your spot.
Yeah.
I do have a really nice ice fishing suit. I won't lie. I guess one of the advantages is it's a float suit, and I think anyone who is ice fishing now with the technology we have, you should probably have a float suit. You know, if you went through the ice, it would help save you. But yeah, marketing. Oh, I mean, the brand loyalty that they build, like, I'm a Lowrance guy. There's other people that are Vexilar guys. I have an Otter ice fishing shanty, which, top of the line. Is it warmer than my older ones? My Chappelle? Yeah, it is. Is it worth the price difference? Probably not. It's obviously you're paying for that brand name, and I get suckered into that like brand loyalty stuff. It was like we had the conversation before about custom lures, and my argument always was custom lures are catching fishermen. You know, it's
Right.
the action and the presentation of the lure that really triggers the fish to bite it. The colors, the way especially like walleye see, and me and one of my old fishing partners had this debate. He was pro amateur walleye guy and walleye god. I mean, he knows that fish and every custom color that you could think of, man. Like customs that you can't even buy in the state, And I said, how many of those have you not even used? And he said, every lure I got has been wet. And I said, the only way every lure you got would get wet is if your boat sank. Like, bullshit. I fished with you for years. We go to the same 6, 7, 8 lures. We get suckered into that shit, man. Advertising's powerful. It's very powerful. And then the tribalism. I thought about that too. That it's funny you brought that up because I had thought about that after our debate when we were kicking it back and forth. And it's like I think inherently deep in us we long to belong.
Yep.
And to be able to fish with other guys and we're all Otter guys and these guys are Chappelle guys or Eskimo guys. Like everyone's kind of got their brand and I have fun with it because like you have a different motorcycle than I have. Mm-hmm. Completely two different complete styles, not even just brands but styles. Now we will banter back and forth till hell freezes over picking on each other about that stuff and it's fun. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy it. To me it enriches the whole experience of it, but you see people who they kind of tend to like get together with their brands, right? Harley guys are Harley guys. Rocket guys they're all riding their rockets. Sometimes you see when you're passing them on the road, you do the and the guys on the rocket, they ignore you. Or I had Harley guys that didn't even wave at me, didn't give me respect because I had a helmet on, right? Old school guys, a big lump, bigger than this beard, blowing in the wind. Like it's weird. Just people are goofy, We are.
Yeah, and because I got in my own way in the conversation with my brother, I wasn't effectively articulating my point, right? I instantly grew frustrated to the fact that like he was captured in this, right?
Sure.
And for the same reason, right? Like you're Team Stren, so you got Stren sticker on the back when you're talking. This guy's Spider. You're showing your tribe here, like this is a group I'm part of.
I got a Muddy sticker in my back window,
right? It's like, it's like
I like Muddy
for some reason, biologically, I guess it's just woven in our DNA to be part of that tribe.
Yeah.
But then again, marketing preys on your emotions and your feelings. Like you'd rather be doing this than what you have to do, right? And so they convince you, and this is the fucked up part, they convince you to buy more of this shit, which means you have to work more.
Which means you got less time.
Right.
Yep.
And so what are you doing? You're enriching someone else to enjoy their time doing the shit they want to do, which puts you as another fucking cog in the machine.
You're just another spoke in the wheel, man.
Because they convinced you to buy something, now you're going to use less because you have to work more to pay for the shit.
It really.
And what I told my brother is buy less shit, spend more time out there.
Yeah. And if you can justify, look, my suit is warm, and I had another brand name ice fishing suit. Like I've been when I started fishing. I've been ice fishing since I was a little boy.
Yeah.
And eventually, I spent a lot of years on the ice wearing Carhartt.
Yeah.
It kept me pretty warm. I mean, Carhartt's really good, durable, heavy duty shit. I wouldn't want to fall through the ice with it, though. I'll tell you that. Like,
But okay, but
but
the
eventually,
thing here is falling through the ice is separate from wearing warm gear, because falling through an ice is a different issue.
sure, and that's I mean, like my suit
So-
now it floats. So I had an ice fishing
Well,
suit that worked,
what I'm-
right? But eventually, I did upgrade to the newest one because of the new technology in there. And that was the purpose of it, was just because I wanted a suit that would float. But I did discover that this suit technically is actually warmer than the other one. I hate to admit it, but it actually is a better suit.
Right. And I guess maybe it just depends on the style of fishing you do. I've been
Yeah.
ice fishing my whole life. The majority of my life, I wore snowmobile pants
Right,
and
yeah.
a snowmobile jacket.
Right.
Like,
Sure. You don't
And
have to be out there.
I've been
doing-
ice fishing to where we built our own shanties.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a nice fold down shanty.
Yeah.
I remember building shanty out 2x4s in visqueen.
I'll bring a
plastic.
picture of some of the
Like,
shanties that I've
And
done.
somehow I did it with shitty boots and snowmobile pants.
Yep.
And but my brother made it the same point, because I said, okay, I can almost justify the float suit
Right.
because,
It's safe.
but then I
It's
have to
safer.
think, why are we going on ice that we potentially think we need a float suit for?
I think because there's no such thing as safe ice. In my
He
mind,
brought this up too. And
there's always a potential for the ice to have a bad spot.
there is, but I've snowmobiled on lakes. I've
Mhm.
been in vehicles driving on
Oh, yeah.
lakes. And you look like northern Minnesota, where these
Yeah.
guides haul trailers out that are
Oh, yeah.
completely set up and they lower down to the
Mhm.
ice, and you can lay in your bed and fish.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think one of those trailers in their pickup cost?
Oh yeah.
100 grand?
100,000. 100,000.
So
yeah.
do you think if that
I mean, it
wasn't
costs you $1,000 to rent one.
right for a
weekend.
weekend, right? So do you think if that ice was unsafe, they would jeopardize? Because you can't insure that,
Right.
because it's on the ice. You
Yeah.
cannot insure that. So there is. When I hear people saying there's no such thing as safe ice, I see the guys that run out on the first 2 or 3 inches and fall through.
The best fishing you
Okay.
get typically in this state is first and last ice. That's when the fishing is the best. But
Look,
in Michigan, we don't get the quality of ice that they do in northern Minnesota. So
I get that.
and then
But-
like for me, I'm fishing big water, so I'm out 5-6 miles
Yeah.
on a quad. You're
Right.
crossing a crack. Sometimes the wind shifts, the crack opens up, and we're crossing it with ramps, and
Okay.
we spud it, right? You try to be careful, but there's always
Let's
a
break this.
potential.
I want to break this down for a minute, because you're telling me you're buying a float suit in case you fall through.
Right.
Okay. How much does that side by side cost?
Depends on which one.
The one you
the
got.
one at
Yours,
15,000.
Okay. How much does your fish finder cost?
$300 probably. Yeah.
Okay. I know one little tackle box in my ice fishing lure is about $200.
Oh yeah.
Right?
For sure.
Okay. So your shanty, your heater, so you're looking.
Yeah,
You got
$1,500
$20,000
shanty.
worth of shit.
Oh, easy.
You're 6 miles out.
Mm-hmm.
Everything falls through.
Right.
You got your float suit. Now what?
Hopefully you can get your ass up on.
Okay, you're
on
still
the ice.
6 miles out. No,
Sure.
You just lost $20,000
Mhm.
worth of shit. Was it worth
Right.
it? For some walleye.
When you go through, no, it's
For
not.
some
I'm
walleye.
sure that's what you think, but I mean, was it worth spending the extra couple $100 to get my float suit? Yeah.
You're still 6
I would
miles
say
out
yeah,
there and you fell
you
through the
know.
ice.
Mhm.
Your cell phone's junk. You have no
Well,
communication.
usually you keep that in your suit. in a
Regardless,
Ziploc,
if you're
so,
lucky,
right.
if you're lucky, your cell phone still works. And you're 6 miles out. You just lost everything you've ever worked for,
Right.
and
But
and
it's
you-
like, to me, having the fire extinguisher in the house, like, you don't want your house to burn down. Chances are your house is not going to. But man, if you get something catches on fire, it's nice to have that fire
I
extinguisher.
still don't think you're getting my point. The point to this is
Why would
the
you be
float
out
suit.
there?
The float suit would be the last thing on my mind if I think I'm gonna lose $20,000 worth of shit on the ice and potentially my
And the
life.
side by side actually is covered in full coverage insurance on the ice. We double checked that. So for the side by side. Now I don't know about Minnesota with these $100,000 trailers. That's probably different. These big ice fishing trailers that they take out there, but the side by side's covered.
Okay, so the side by side's covered. How much is the DNR charging you every day that thing's sitting under the ice?
$1,200 a day, I think, and then
what's the recovery fee to pull that thing out?
Yeah, those guys they go out there every year and pull. And look, I haven't went through, thank God,
right.
Because I'm careful. But
my point to that was, like, when I go ice fishing,
shifts,
when I go ice fishing, it's usually inland lakes.
Those are
I
safer.
usually don't go out on less than 8 inches of ice.
Right.
Like,
there was a small lake that I fished on all the time up north in northern Michigan, and a friend of mine, we went out there. I had been on the lake, and the weather had kind of gotten goofy, and we walked out a little bit, spudding our way out, cut a couple holes on our way out to sea, and there's like 8-9 inches of ice, plenty. I mean, you could drive a truck on that. We walked out to the middle of the lake. There was this one spot. It was a little bit deeper. I knew there was some crappie that would hold up down there. And I said, well, let's go over here. There's a little snow, and we can pack it around the bottom of the shanty so you're not getting the wind underneath, help keep you warm. And we got the shanty about halfway up, and I went over and I hit the spud a couple times on the ice to, chip a little bit of a hole to keep the spud upright, and on the second hit, it went through. Like, I almost dropped the spud through the ice, and thank God I had the wrist wrap on, or I would have lost the spud because I didn't expect that.
Right.
And I thought, for a second, I just froze, and I thought, well, that's weird. Like, what the hell? So I went over a couple feet, hit it twice, spud went right through. It just so happened that one spot on the whole lake, and I think it was because it was snow that had been there and it insulated it, it just never froze good. And I got my partner, and we like backed up real slow, and just kind of left the shanty up, but grabbed the rope and just kind of pulled it back to bare ice where the ice was better. It was just an oversight on my part. Ice fishing my whole life, let my guard down. It was a bad spot, It just was. So
I wonder if there was a spring under there.
Could have been, maybe it could have been the spring, and there was enough water turbulence right there that it just didn't freeze.
That's what I wondered.
But I never ever fished that spot through the ice again. Like I would stay. I knew where it was. I'd stay away. I don't know.
Typically on an inland
lakes freeze good.
You might, if you have 8 or 9 inches, you might get 6 on the low side, and you might have 10 in another spot. But typically, it doesn't go from on an inland lake 9 to 1.
Right.
Unless there's something, like I said, like a fresh spring underneath that's keeping the water.
The big
moving.
water, that ice is constantly moving, so it's shoving, it's pushing together, it's opening back up. That's a different style of fishing. It's more like fishing the rivers, which you really got to be careful on.
Yeah, I rarely fish.
That ice can change, and I've been fishing that one particular river that we all fish on. Like, I've been fishing that river since I was a child. I've never been through, but I mean, the potentials people go through.
And that's why I so rarely.
You can go from 12 inches of ice to 4 inches of ice in 2 days there,
Well, and within 20 feet you can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Just because that water's constantly moving,
Yeah, so.
It depends on how it froze, how much current was flowing when it froze.
And like I said, I'm riding across the ice on a quad. Or the side-by-side for it takes a half an hour sometimes to get out to your spot where you want to fish. And the suit's a little warmer, so, to me it was worth it. But, there are probably cheaper brands now that are float suits too. And, mine's Striker, right? And I got a Striker hat, and I got some Striker stickers, to put on the laptop or whatever. So I fall for that marketing like anybody else. Sure, I like to show off I'm a brand whore on some things.
And this is where I recognize these things in myself. So I'm just as guilty, but now I'm trying to recognize them so I don't fall into these pitfalls and give my money to people, so I have to work more to pay for shit I really didn't need in the first place.
Reminds me of a conversation we had.
And that's the awareness I'm trying to bring here.
That you quit watching a lot of the Outdoor Network channels because of the marketing, the constant, shoot this big deer because of my Matthews bow, or I would have never been able to pull it off, or my Darton this or Hoyt that, and these broadheads, and
And there's influencers on social media that I followed for years,
oh
right?
yeah,
And these
yeah,
guys shot Hoyts
yeah,
all the way up till just a couple years
and
ago.
now
And
they're
now they're
shooting
shooting
something different.
Matthews.
Yep.
And now it's like I'm seeing the same thing in
Yeah.
them, and it's really pissing me off. Because you go back and watch your old shit when they were shooting Hoyt.
Yeah.
It was the best bow in the world, the most
Right.
technologically advanced, all the same gimmicks,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And now all of a
It's
sudden,
the same exact sales pitch,
right,
just with a different name. They
right,
just
and
changed the brand
it's
name.
really annoying.
Yeah.
Now, I have no problem with if something was better here,
Right.
or you just wanted to try this because they came out with some new features. You want try? I have
Sure.
no problem with them trying something different, but you can see the overwhelming push.
Yeah. And I was wrong on my fish finder. That the graph that I use out there, that was 500, I think. Which I
was gonna
upgraded.
say because I know
Yeah.
mine with
I
the
got
ice
mine on
bundle, I'm
sale.
almost $800.
Yeah, mine I got on sale, a Black Friday deal, and I think I got 500 into that. Then $100 for the chip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like I said,
it's probably close to $1,000 in that. It's
Yeah.
it's a good
That's-
graph.
that's why
And
when
it
you
has
said
the
that, I'm like,
GPS
okay,
and
yeah, mine does too,
Yeah,
and that's why I
No, I misspoke. I think it was 500 I paid for
And
it
for
on a Black
me,
Friday deal. So
it's
and
not.
I upgraded.
It's for me, it's not worth it. For one, losing all my shit,
Right.
potentially my life or a family member's life.
Yeah.
But for two, I gotta work now to replace
Yeah.
all that shit again.
Right. Because you're not getting that shit back.
No.
You know what I mean? And I've watched them on. There's some pretty good videos on YouTube. But there's one of the guys that I follow is pretty famous in ice fishing, and he went through and lost his shit and waited for the ice to get better, and he hit the GPS coordinates where he went through at, and went back and found his gear and fished a lot of it up. I mean, he didn't get everything back. But it was pretty neat. He put a camera down and, was watching himself fish his shit out of there. And it's, man, yeah, a lot of that stuff, you're not, even, okay, so I got my side-by-side replaced. I didn't get my Otter, my $1,500 shanty replaced. The $500 heater.
How about your auger?
The auger's $500, $600 electric auger. That's gone. It's $50-$60 just for the spud bar, not counting your rods, your rod locker.
This is my point. Your float suit saved you. You're paying $1,200 a day till you can get your side by side out.
Right.
And now you gotta work to replace all that shit.
So we just talked essentially anyone out of ice fishing.
And I'm not trying to talk people off ice fishing. I'm just saying be sensible about the ice you're going on.
Right.
A guy that my brother and I know, he's gone through 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And I might be exaggerating. It might have been once or twice. Whatever it is. But this guy's out on the first inch or two of shitty ice, and then my brother's following him out there.
Right, crazy.
And I'm like, is it worth it?
No, I'd rather go buy a fillet of fish.
I like fishing as much as anybody else, but ice fishing is like deer hunting to me.
Yeah.
It's a chance when holidays are over.
Right.
All the shit, there's not a lot going on. I just like sitting out there and talking with my friends. I don't have to catch a damn thing.
Right. Yeah,
I just watch my fish. I don't care. It's not that big of a deal to me.
You throw out those tip-ups out there, and you're just sitting around bullshitting and waiting for a flag to pop. It's fun, It's just
I'm not
the
counting.
Camaraderie of it,
I'm not counting on it to eat.
Right.
Where deer hunting, I do kind of count on it to eat.
It depends on how much you fish.
And I like some fresh fish. Don't get me wrong.
I eat a lot of fish.
I'm just saying. I just want people to look at it for. If you're buying things to save your life because you're doing sketchy shit, you're gonna lose potentially a lot more than that one thing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, if you go through, and also I would fish in the boat before ice, right?
Yeah.
And there's always a potential to fall out of the boat.
Yeah.
And to have a suit that floats,
Yeah.
It's just a little extra comfort. It's kind of like wearing my helmet when I ride motorcycle.
But how many of these same people even wear a life jacket on a boat?
Most people don't. Now they make the new ones that are real small, low profile. Those are kind of nice, and people are more amped to wear those now because honestly, fishing with a vest or the jacket, they suck. They're in the way. They're uncomfortable and cumbersome. I never wore them, even when I was in choppy, shitty water. Maybe motoring out, motoring in, but once we were fishing, take that shit off. So, sometimes I can kind of see that's it makes sense to upgrade to a better life jacket or something. But it's a lot of it's marketing, and
We're really
just tribal, belonging to the tribe.
We're really shooting ourselves in here with potential advertisers in the future.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you know what? I really want to advertise your product, man. So, I'll be an influencer.
But I've said from the beginning of this channel, I'm not
Yeah.
going to manipulate it either.
No.
If someone advertised here, I'm going to be honest about it.
Right.
I'm going to let you know, look, these people are paying me to.
Yeah. This is an advertisement.
And if I believe in it, if it was something good, like a health product that I've used before, like whether it was like Liquid IV, I believe in Liquid IV or Athletic Greens. These are some products that I trust, that I believe that have benefits to your life.
Yeah.
But I don't want you buying anything you can't afford to buy.
Right. Because you think it's magic.
Right. Right. Yeah, there's too much snake oil out there as it is, right? These products slightly enhance, right? It's just another puzzle piece in this bigger puzzle that you're building, your life, your health.
It's just a piece of it.
Yeah. No one of them is going to, all of a sudden you're going to take it, and, oh God, I feel 20 years younger and I can go out and do this and that.
I like that. I like how you put that.
It's not. It just doesn't exist. But anyways, it made me think about what you were saying about advertising. I started thinking about the influencer side and some of the people that I know.
You're just bombarded with it. Constantly, all day long. And, I think when it's the worst is when you're not paying attention to it. It's just in the background playing.
Yeah.
That shit's just brainwashing you constantly, I think that's when it really kind of seeps into your head because you're not guarded. You know what I mean? You're not watching it actively going, oh, well, of course these guys are advertising this. I wonder how much they get paid for that. It's just kind of in the background, just kind of bleeding into your head. You want this. You want this. You want this. You need this.
You're going to be more like this person if you have this, like they do.
If you have the same deer, you can shoot the same deer.
And I had heard someone say about Michael Jordan when he used to do Hanes commercials.
Yeah.
And they're like, if you believe for 1 minute Michael Jordan's wearing Hanes, I got a bridge to sell you.
Right.
They said, I guarantee you he has the finest Italian silk underwear imported.
Right.
Yeah. But again, people, look at that like, oh God, so-and-so is using this. Like
his underwear is so comfortable, it's like getting a testicle massage every time you take a step.
Right.
Like,
And I hadn't thought about it. I don't even remember who. It was someone prominent that brought that up. But
yeah, I like that.
I couldn't even tell you who said that.
Yeah, because he ain't wearing no whitey tighties, man. No, come on.
No. And you'll see celebrities selling like basic hair care products that we can buy at Walmart, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is most fab, this and that, and it's like they ain't using that shit.
No. That's for us common folk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But again, we go, oh, well, if this celebrity's using this deodorant, then
it's got to be good.
Yeah, it's got to be good. They're endorsing it. Now, understanding the only reason they're doing that is because they're getting paid.
Right.
That's it.
They're making money.
They're standing there doing it. Someone paid them.
Yeah. It's smart. It works. It works, or they wouldn't do it.
And like I said, I'm just as guilty of this
advertising,
shit as anybody.
I think, has really just gotten crazy in our lifetime. And,
it has.
And some of it's because when we were young, it was limited.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? If you're listening to the radio, you kept some ads, 1 or 2 in between songs. Now it's 6. Sometimes I've driven for 25 minutes and never even heard a song.
Isn't
it was
that
advertising. Yeah, it pisses me off.
A friend of mine.
Social media. Look at this right here, right? We didn't have this when we were young, right? We had 3 channels, maybe 4 if you counted PBS, and a couple of commercials here and there when your show would go for a break. But you didn't watch TV all day, every day either. We were out riding bikes, or like you said earlier, on the skateboard, right? So you weren't advertised to the way the amount that we get now. It's on our phones. It's notifications going off. Oh, look, I got something new on Facebook, and I open it, but there's still 3 ads that are around whatever I opened up. Well, it's open. I might as well scroll through here real quick and see who's posted something new. And there's 17 ads. Like, man, I made the mistake. I said it out loud. I swear to you guys, swear to you. One time I said out loud that I was going to go and buy a new guitar. Oh my God. Instagram, Facebook, ad after ad after ad of this guitar's for sale, this program to teach you how to play guitar, all these people playing music, like little TikTok videos popping up of different people playing songs or the drums, and and I made the mistake again that there was this kid that's just this prodigy, man. I mean, this kid is just little dinky kid, just ripping it, and I'm like, I'm shooting him a heart, like that's awesome. And now there's like 1,000 kids playing different instruments. It's just bombarding me with it. I was, wow, advertising sickening. It's disgusting.
We had a talk this morning around the table drinking coffee this morning with my daughter, and she said, she goes, I wish I could have grown up in your time because everything wasn't so loud.
Right. It's a good way of looking at it.
And I'm like, maybe. Last night you were able to FaceTime your grandmother sitting on the couch.
And then there's that.
I talked to my grandmother that I remember once a year on the phone.
Wow.
And that was Christmas Eve to thank her for the gift she sent me.
Right.
And each of us kids got like 1 minute. Because long distance was 10 cents a minute or 15 cents a minute, right? So we didn't call long distance. I got to see them at Thanksgiving and usually once during the summer because they lived in northern Michigan.
Right.
My cousins, most of them lived in northern Michigan. I never talked to my cousins on the phone. Right. I saw them at Thanksgiving and usually once during the summer on summer vacation. That's all the communication I have with my cousins.
That's a great point.
Now, my same cousin that we're the same age, I see in northern Michigan, he lives in Florida now.
Right.
Now, we text pictures and I can instantly communicate 24 hours a day with him.
And don't get me wrong, I love technology. What we're doing right now is our dream, and we're doing this because of. So there's great benefit to technology.
There's some happy medium somewhere in here, and we'll figure it out as a species. It's just too new. It's too busy. It's too much compiling on at once for us to sort it out in our fucking monkey brains here, right? And it just takes time for us to figure out what the happy medium is with all of this noise. That she called it.
I think I like that noise.
Yeah.
It's just everything being
busy.
loud.
It's busy. It's just nonstop. Like you said. So we're overwhelmed at this point because we haven't figured out how to manage this, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But there is something unique and special about what we do have.
Right. That being said, I'm not putting a chip in my head, so that's just scary. I understand why, I get it.
I go back and forth on this.
The convenience and just the safety of your information.
Don't you have a chip in your chest?
Yeah. Yep. I already have a chip, and I don't want one in my brain.
Okay.
And I
was just checking.
Oh yeah. And fair disclosure, I got a chip in my chest. I'm on the screen.
I didn't mean to call you out here, but I just.
And it's scary because it's like.
So again,
go here, and then you don't, and then they press the red button, and you didn't know that there was a little capsule in there full of cyanide, and all of a sudden it breaks and die.
That's very most extreme.
Sure.
But again, we found a benefit. Right.
And I got a medical background.
So the
technology is awesome for medical. It's man, we can save people now that even 10, 15 years ago would have been like lost cause. But man, something in your head, this can't really influence my thoughts.
And I'm hearing the most extreme on the internet too about the chip.
Oh yeah.
So until we know
more about it,
right? Like if it's like my cell phone where I can just access information,
right?
It may be able to send me ads, but as long as it couldn't take over my brain or my body and make me do things, I'm cool with it. If it acts like my cell phone where I can just be like, Google this, I need the information for this, or how do I get to this place, direction wise, like a GPS. Like, as long as I can control it, but it can't control me or give me thoughts, right?
Right.
If it's just like a device to access information, I'm cool.
It's just scary about hackers.
If it can't, well, that's what I'm saying.
As long as it hack your car,
right? But as long as it can't hack my neurological system and make me do
or
things
think things.
and think
right.
things, right? Or put false thoughts in my brain,
Right.
right? You know what I'm saying? As long as it's just a device to access information that I don't have to use this, what's going to
You
be
don't have to carry it
archaic,
around. Right.
you know,
Yeah,
out
that'll
of
be like
date
a stone
system.
tablet
Right.
at some
Right.
point. People used to carry these big, giant, clunky phones around. Why would
Right.
you ever carry that around? Like,
So I'm cool with it for that. If it is, if it does tap into your neurological system and shit, I'm not cool with
that's
that.
scary.
That's where you have the potential for
Yeah.
nefarious
Right.
actors to take over, right?
Reminds
So
me of that movie, A Beautiful Mind, with Russell Crowe, I think was the main character in there, and like he's schizophrenic.
I don't
And
understand
through oh, it's great, fantastic movie. Through this whole movie, it's flashing these different realities, and really, you can't tell as a viewer what is real and what's not, and it's supposed to really mimic what someone that is really schizophrenic, what it's like for their brain, because you hear voices like, yeah, to me, I'm like, yeah, you hear voices in your fucking head, but to you, man, I mean, there's like someone sitting there talking to you, like, what's reality? Is this real? Or is it the person sitting telling me that this person's not real? Maybe they're not real. And it was just great. And I thought, man, with that chip, like, oh, that's scary that they could alter your reality, and you couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't. Like, they were joking around about giving people 100-year, probably on Tim Pool is one of them that I seen, sending you to prison for 100 years, and that you actually go through the motions of being in prison for 100 years, and it was 15 minutes. And then they pull you out, and what a mind fuck that would be. And like, yeah, I don't know. I love the idea of being able to access information. I love the idea of being able to do what we're doing right now, and to be able, like, you'll pull shit up in real time while we're sitting here talking. Like, I think that makes us better. I think that makes an individual person more powerful. So you're not so reliant on a government that approved X book in this library that, because whatever, history's written by the victors, right? So you can actually debate this shit yourself and find out different points of view, right? Different sides of this argument, and make up your own mind. I love that. I think it empowers the hell out of us as a species. But again, to every benefit, the negative side effect, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes.
And I think we do, and this is where I like both sides of the conversation, because I think we do need those people that are extremely cautious, like you, like, Alex Jones, like, they're going to take over our bodies, and,
we're all going to be aliens.
Right, whatever, right? Like, I think we do need that to keep that in the back of our mind, like, okay, this could go sideways. We got to be cautiously optimistic here and understand that whatever's built into this, needs to make sure that someone can't take it over.
It's a lot of trust to put, and the reason I say that is because Social Security cards. Social Security cards. You have one, I have one, you got a number, I got a number. I have a friend that he owned a machine shop, and I was working for him as a machinist. And he's a little older than me, and he was telling me, when I got my Social Security, Social Security card was for Social Security. It was not meant as identification. And I said, what? Because at that time, I mean, it was like we would go to the video store and actually rent movies. And you needed a Social Security card and a driver's license to open an account at Family Video, right? Or Hollywood Video. And I thought he was full of shit. He pulled his card out, and it said right on the card, stamped right on there, not to be used for identification. And I thought, wow. So the whole purpose of that number was just for your Social Security so it was sold to the public of, oh, we're going to issue you guys these numbers, but, it's not to identify you. It's never going to be used that way. And now look, I mean, you can't do nothing without 4 forms except for vote. You can do that with no identification, but just about anything else, you need your driver's license. I have an enhanced driver's license now because the driver's license alone wasn't sufficient for identification anymore. So yeah, we do got to be careful that, we're not sold a bridge, right? Oh, I understand it could be used bad, but we're not going to use it for, 20 years from now, things might look a lot different. There might be different people in power that do want to use it for that kind of stuff. So, maybe you have the chip and then you go in to get it upgraded, right? Because we got to have a new phone every year in the newest version of this software. And then all of a sudden it is wired into your, and it's making neurons fire off in your brain when you don't want them to be. So I don't know. It's just scary.
Yeah, because that's what I was looking up. Because I remember, I don't know when it became a thing. We'd have to do more research on that. But it said in here in August 1987, SSA began a 3-state pilot of the enumeration at birth process in which the parents of a newborn can request a SSN, Social Security number, as part of the state's birth registration process. Additional states began to participate in EAB in July of 1988.
Yeah.
So even that's relatively new to where at birth.
Right. But to us, it's a way. And I remembered that because I was listening to it kind of piggybacked off a conversation me and you had about being our childhood was a lot better than children nowadays, and like we had a lot better childhood, and you had brought up a good point about, well, it was the childhood we knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kids nowadays probably would hate the childhood we had, although it's full of nostalgia for me and you. So when you look at this is all they knew, for us in our lifetime, all we knew is that Social Security number was part of your identification of who you are. You fill out any form, you're using your driver's license number, your Social Security number, your date of birth. Sometimes it's the last 3 addresses you've had in the last 15 years. But it hasn't really been that long that, it was just a number so you could collect Social Security. I never knew that, until he showed me that. And, it's just crazy how fast. And so you look at the kids today, and I was listening, Tim Pool, one of them were talking in the video that I think it was Tim himself had brought up, like, these kids that are 10 years old right now, 8 years from now are going to be voting, or able to. And all they've known is schools bringing in demonstrations of sex toys, right? That we'll throw that out there because that happened in Chicago with the toys for adults and how to use them and the difference, have them spit on it and then put lubrication on it so that they could see the difference, and like it's gross. But 8 years from now, like this is the life, to us it seems so extreme, but to these kids it'll be just normal. Like Social Security number is to us, and it just kind of, man, it fucks with my head, just what are these kids, what kind of world are they inheriting, scary.
Yeah, and that was my point to my daughter this morning was you might like the quietness, because she goes, well, at holidays everybody wasn't on their phone. I'm like, okay, that's one quality aspect. And that's where
everyone was arguing.
Well, no, but that's where I got into my point to her that, okay, so once or twice a year, everybody got together and had a good social time, but now you didn't talk to those people for 11 and a half months.
Right.
To where now you can talk to them.
Yeah, I love being able to.
Which is probably why when we get together, it's not that big catch up from the last 10 or 11 months, right? Because we keep up with each other
changed
through social media.
Now that you say that, I never really thought about that. But yeah, the get-togethers are not the same as they used to be. They used to be these big, in your mind, it was like this big thing, oh, we get to hang out today. And now it's like, oh, cool, we're hanging out today. But, like we've been FaceTiming all week, or texting back and forth and talking. And,
or you keep up on my social media, so that I got a deer, and we went on vacation, and that like
that
all these
changed it.
Things happened,
because it was almost more magical when we were young,
Yeah, because like I said, you had 11 months of catching up to do, in a couple of days.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
I like that. It's a good point.
And so she was like, I can see,
Is
there more benefit in being instantly connected all the time, so we can share in real time, communicate in real time, or do we want very little communication, but a couple times a year we have this big
event
catch up of what's been going on over the last year?
Like
I don't
noticed,
know.
like, even family reunions, like, have dropped off. My family on both sides don't have them
Same.
nearly as much. You don't need them as much,
Right.
you know. You're just gonna.
We can do a group message. We can do group
We
video
do a lot
online.
of the family chats, you know.
There is some quality loss though in not
does
having
take some of the magic out.
not having that big gathering and the actual
never thought of it
being able to hug the family member and see their
it's a trade-off.
Seeing someone on a screen isn't like standing face to face with them.
No.
And feeling the warmth and the vibe that they give off,
pinched, you know, right.
So there's I don't know where the happy medium comes in, and it's going to take us.
And I don't want people to think like I'm anti-technology because I'm a technology whore. I admit it. You know, how much did I just spend on a new camera to take out hunting with me? You know, to record my hunts, and you know, even that I was just a little while ago was bitching about that, like top of line, greatest, newest stuff, and you know, the mounting systems like were better for the cheaper older cameras that I had than this new one, I think. But yeah, I use technology all the time. You know, like I love building these, and you've done it too. Your own hunts, record them, throw some music in the background, some cool transitions in there, and make a neat little video. And I love technology. I'm just scared of it.
And I never did it to profit off it. I did it to preserve the memories of my kids and my hunts, so that because we got into that conversation too on our way home last night from picking up my deer horns, and we were talking about people dying because I went to that funeral last Saturday, and on the way back we're getting in that conversation about life just temporarily pausing for the people who remember you, and I said, now think about this. Eventually, nobody remembers you.
Yeah.
Tell me who your great-great-great-grandfather was. Where did he live? What did he do for a living? Nobody knows, right? Do any pictures exist of your second great-grandfather?
Right. And even with social media now, 100 years from now, no one's going to know that you or I were even here.
It does slightly change. This does slightly change that memory.
I guess if you upload your shit into there is that.
Right.
Your consciousness uploaded into Facebook so that,
No, you took it a step too far. Because my kids can tell my grandkids where my YouTube channel is.
Sure.
My social media.
Right.
As long as those companies don't go anywhere, it exists forever.
Absolutely.
Okay? So now,
but would
my great-great-grandkids... Yeah, because I think record keeping is better now. I think we can look back and trace our heritage.
It's way better. I agree. Sure.
But
I don't know that some kid would want to know. Like, I don't know how much research would you do in your great-great-grandpa's.
Maybe not when I was young, but now that I'm older, I would.
I guess. Yeah. If they had lived through some things like 9/11 or the Great Depression, and to be able to go back and to pick their brain about and watch how they. What they talked about during those times, kind of the effect it was having on them. Yeah, I could see for historical shit like that. Yeah.
But even, I wish my grandfather had a podcast so I could sit back and watch and really see what he thought about life.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't a grand event. Just general everyday shit like we're sitting here rapping about, right?
I could see the benefit.
Just to see
or the
his
desire
thought
to
process.
Know it.
Because I knew my grandfather.
Once you're 100 years out, you know what I mean? Like, you get far enough out,
to
me, I always looked at it as the only thing, and I used to say this to one of my best friends, like, 100 years from now, no one's going to remember us, right? Like, we're gone. So what really mattered is what you do. Like, when you're on your deathbed, you're reflecting back over your life that you did good. You tried hard to be a good person. You made good memories with good people, and you can die happy, because the legacy, I don't know, for the common man, I mean, what kind of legacy? Your kids, and then their kids, and that's your legacy. Right.
But I still think there's some value. If you had old videos, everybody.
I guess if you
I shouldn't
bring
say
it up
everybody.
online,
I shouldn't say everybody, but I sure wish.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, you get more nostalgic.
Well, you appreciate that more, right?
I have 0 videos. All we have is pictures of Christmas
Yeah.
Day, right?
I barely even got pictures because I moved around a lot and it was physical media, right? So I lost a lot of shit. It got rained on, ruined, thrown away. And that's why I take people laugh because I take so many pictures now, but it's the paranoia of not documenting everything. Like, yeah, I have a 2-year-old and I take 30 pictures of him a day, and I want to like save every little bit of that I can because I lost so much. Like I barely have a picture of me when I was young.
So imagine if all that was stored on servers somewhere where you could access, Christmas morning videos and every Christmas video.
Grandpa Jones, 1964.
What was Christmas like? What was Christmas like in 1901?
Yeah.
For my great grandfather.
Right.
What was that Christmas morning like?
Yeah.
100 years from now, I have to believe that our great grandchildren would like to look back and say, what was Christmas like in 2022?
I would hope so. I hope you're right.
What was it like? And maybe not at 12 years old, they might not care, but maybe at 50 years old,
I think,
they'd like to look back when as they get older and more nostalgic.
My fear is that people are evolving rapidly because of technology and
I don't think
already I've seen in the world, like, in a neighborhood, there's a lot more strangers in the neighborhood now than there was when we were young. And I see a lot more people like keep their blinds shut. They don't care. Just leave me alone in my dwelling. They don't want to know their neighbors. Like my brother brought this up last week. We were talking. He said, "Hey, do you remember we were a kid going over to the neighbors and borrowing a loaf of bread?" And I said, or some piece of bread. And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that wasn't even actually really normal. Like to us, it was. I mean, because everyone in the neighborhood knew each other, right? And like your older neighbors were like grandparents to you. I mean, they were as close to you as your grandma and grandpa, and they'd bake zucchini bread or banana nut bread, and they'd always bring some over for you, and you'd take stuff over to there, and it's like mom would elbow, hey, run over and see if so and so's got a couple pieces of bread that or a cup of sugar or whatever. And now, could you imagine, sending your kid over for a cup of sugar to the neighbor? You don't even know who in the hell they are. So my fear is that people are going to change and they're not going to care. I hope you're right. I hope you are right that 100 years from now, someone's sitting in front of, it'll be in their head. It probably won't even be a computer screen. I want to see what great grandpa Fred thought, or let's look at his deer season. Let's see some pictures of the deer, he shot. I hope so. I hope people hold on to that because that's human, right? That's humanity. And my fear is that we're losing that because of technology.
Maybe, or I'm gonna dawn a little bit of your perspective here. What if it's intentionally dividing us?
I think so. I think so. I think it's
what if it is sowing distrust in us and our neighbors,
right?
Don't want to know who they are, and are they creepos,
And then you don't know what's going on, you know what I mean? And you don't know what's going on in the schools, and you're very isolated. And
maybe it wasn't.
I think that makes you weak.
Maybe it wasn't an intentional divide, but it was definitely.
I think it was
capitalized on the fact that
maybe they didn't.
Right.
My paranoid. Okay, I think it was always the design, but even if it wasn't, I think at some point they realized, hey, we can use this to empower us. Like it helps our haves versus the have-nots, and let's divide and conquer.
I think, as most things, none of them are smart enough to formulate that elaborate plan. Like I said, I think it's more of these things are just shit, this can be a benefit to us, so we'll just keep that going because it does benefit us. It's just something that propagated organically, grew into this thing,
and people take advantage of shit, right? They do. It's human nature. So I think right now, are we intentionally being divided? Absolutely. By religious lines, by
racial,
political, economic, across the board.
They
completely.
You can't even deny. You can't even deny that.
And because a neighborhood that doesn't know each other is a weak neighborhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just is. When we were kids, if I fucked up too much and was doing something too shitty, one of those neighbors was gonna call my mom.
Yeah.
Like they knew who I was.
Yeah.
I'd get yelled at. You get your ass. Don't be doing that. I'm gonna call your mom.
Yeah.
Like now,
they call the cops.
Yeah. If they don't just like look out and go, little bastard down the road. God, I hate those kids. Like you don't even know their names.
Yeah.
Like so. It's dangerous for us.
Yeah.
I think it's just we need to be careful with this and try to hold on to that humanity and what makes, because again, tribal, right? It's those tribes make us strong, and I think inherently it's in our DNA to be tribal, because that was at a DNA level. I think it's inbred into it's written right into our DNA that our chances of surviving as a person was greater when you belong to a tribe
100%.
versus being on your own,
100%.
right? So I think just at a DNA level, we thrive to be part of the group, and people take advantage of that now, unfortunately.
Now, we have to. I'm trying to think. We had that conversation too this morning because my wife, they had changed a classic commercial. She's like, "Oh, why'd they have to change that commercial?" I'm like, "Well, I get you like that, but do you want to see the commercials from when your parents were kids?" Right. She's like, "No." So you expect our kids to want to see the same commercials you saw?
Right.
So do we all just live in 1930?
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't progress, then what do we all just live in 1930? Like what do we do here?
That's funny you brought that up.
We have to. It's just technology complicates it. It makes things more noisy.
Yeah.
Busy.
Chaotic. Yeah.
But at some point, we have to make way for the next generation to have their experiences.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
I don't mind if I want to look up. I can do that. I can go on YouTube and I can look up what were TV commercials like when my parents were kids. Okay.
Right. Which is what.
But I want to watch the commercials because you can watch compilation videos of just 80s commercials.
Right. Tim Pool just did it on his channel. That's funny you brought that up because it was during that school in Chicago did this sex toy thing.
Oh.
And he got up and it pissed him off because like these people, like if they were anyone else, they would have been labeled child molesters, pedophiles, groomers. Like you should not be teaching a 14-year-old girl how to insert a butt plug. That's wrong, man. Like on every level, that is not right. And he got so stressed out, he stopped and he Googled and went on YouTube and started looking up commercials from the 80s and 90s, and he played a few on his show. And they were great. And he said, you know what? He just spent an hour just watching funny video or funny commercials but I was watching them in a show and it was like, man, the difference of what advertising was like when we were young versus what it is now is like, wow, crazy difference.
So my point to her was, I can go back and relive that instantly now.
Right.
I have that access.
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to be stuck in 1984, right? I want them
to have
experience their own childhood and be able to reflect back on their own memories.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. And I think
I like that.
Yeah, I just think that we get too caught up in ourselves and our own experiences and trying to maintain that, right? Trying to preserve what we lived because that's what we cherish and remember.
Sure.
But we got to get out of the way.
Right. And let the kids go.
And it's complicated.
Man.
It's complicated to. I don't know who has the right to be the gatekeeper. That's the complicated part. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because, you talked about that, right, with the teenagers, which is never okay, right?
Right.
But there was a point where it was illegal to have sex other than missionary.
Right.
Okay, so.
I think in some states, like, there's still, like, they call certain acts sodomy.
Yeah.
That's illegal. Yeah. I mean, technically, you're not supposed to do that. Right. We're like, what?
Right. Right. Like, a married couple can have oral sex in Tennessee.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
So it evolved.
So, but if you went back to 1915 or whatever, 1890, you couldn't get a blowjob from your wife.
Right.
It was illegal.
I'll tell you what, and you know what? You go back 1,000 years ago, 14-year-old girl was able to be married, right?
Right.
Like you're a woman at that
Right.
point. So it
This
does
is
change.
what I'm saying.
But I
It's
think
so complicated to
how we got to measure that is you can't take a 14-year-old kid today and even compare him to what a 14-year-old kid was
Right.
200 years ago. Because 200 years ago, you were an adult. You
Right.
know what I mean? You were working on the farm. I
But
think
what I'm saying, okay, let me back up one step here.
Okay.
Tim Pool doesn't even live in Chicago, right?
Right,
He doesn't vote there.
no, he moved. He
okay,
used to.
he has
there.
no.
Right.
If those people are okay with that in Chicago, that's on them.
In a sense, yes, I agree that you vote for. Look,
Right.
if they're getting what they voted for, right? They got
Right.
high crime. You can't carry a gun and protect yourself. Well, you voted for it.
Right.
There is a level of that I agree with you 100% on.
Like either we're free people to make free choices or not. And we got in that discussion today about the flag and Brittany Griner and kneeling for the flag and all that shit. I'm
a free speech absolutist. Like,
Right.
you want to kneel. I
Right.
don't give a shit.
And I appreciate.
But I'm not going to buy the underwear you're advertising, just so you know.
And I appreciate my daughter's compassion for, honoring the sacrifices of others, and she thinks the flag. And I understand that, but I try to explain to her either we're free people that can make free decisions, or we're whatever, one of the communist countries where if you don't stand for the flag, they cut your head off.
Right.
Exactly. So what? Where am I not free to make the choice if I want to stand for the flag or not? And I have a flag in the office.
Yeah.
Look at that one. You didn't see that
Yeah.
one, did you?
Yeah. That one's
Did
awesome.
you see that one?
Yeah.
I found that on this property, and it's because of the year I was born.
Yeah.
And the odds that I found it on this property, I have one hanging in the front of the house.
Yeah.
I'm not
Very
saying
patriotic.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
But I love freedom.
Right.
And that means you're free to kneel or to hate that flag. If you want to hate America, hate it. I mean,
isn't that more patriotic in a sense? Isn't that more defiant in the face
older
of
I get,
king?
the more I'm almost to the point of just anarchist, man. Like, just look, you're free. You're either free or you're not. Do you want to go into? And I had this conversation a little bit ago with my son, my middle son, and I said, "You want to go?" And because we were talking about free speech, and I'm gonna absolutely say, "You want to go into a movie theater and yell fire? Go ahead." You know what? Now, I don't think you should go to jail for that. Now, if those people want to sue your ass because you ruined their night out and their day and their movie tickets, or someone punches you in the mouth for it, well, that's the price you pay.
You get blasted in the face and not lose 3 of your teeth.
I'm not going to cry because you got your teeth knocked out. You do something dumb. Well, shit happens. But no one should be thrown in prison for that, or because they kneel for the flag. Or no, man, I agree, we're free.
Right.
But there are some protections that you have to have. I think children kind of supersede that in a sense. Like, we have to protect kids. And I think when you look at what a 14-year-old is now mentally and emotionally, where they're at, they're not an adult. And the idea of bad people trying to normalize this, I think we have to be really careful. It's scary. I don't want to say indoctrination, because look, you learn shit in school, you learn history. Hopefully as an adult you look. I did. I learned a specific history. We did. Christopher Columbus discovered America. Now, do you or I really believe that he actually discovered America, or was it discovered earlier? There was indigenous people that lived here.
Well, way earlier.
Way earlier. There's no doubt. They've proven that there were Vikings here. There were other people, other Europeans that had gotten here a couple hundred years before Columbus. So hopefully, as a child, you learn your basic histories, but as an adult, you challenge those things and you research them yourself. And
well, then you go Grant Hancock's route, before the Younger Dryas, So what, 12,000 years ago there were people here hunting mastodons? You know what I'm saying? I mean,
they crossed
so now
land bridge.
So I never in school, you're right. In 5th grade, I thought he did. Right. But as I got older, I realized, in modern terms, he rediscovered,
Right.
right? Because people didn't know
Right.
it existed.
There was a
right?
big gap for a couple hundred years, especially where no
Right.
one really knew. And I'm not saying what he did wasn't great and historical, and
Yeah.
it was absolutely, and we're here because of it, right?
Right.
But it would have been discovered eventually, anyways,
Yeah.
or rediscovered.
Yeah.
So I hope as kids, we're taught things in school, and then as an adult we evolve.
Yeah.
But there are some things that should not look. Sexual shit with children is just that. I don't care, man. That's you get caught grooming a kid, they should. I'm not even gonna say it. Just that should not be tolerated as a society. We should not tolerate that. I would be willing to trade a smidgen of freedom to protect children.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right, and I get bringing light to this.
Yeah.
But.
And I think that's what he was doing. Is just trying
it seems
to highlight.
like the Republicans, the right media, uses it as an agitated talking point.
It's one of their sticks they're trying to beat the other group with. And you know what, though?
Right.
They're just as bad.
Right.
There's just as many of those Republicans that are pedophiles, that was on, Epstein Island. Like, that's why the list never came out. If it was just liberal people there.
You went way further than where I was going with this, just for pause for a second. But they would throw you in jail for kneeling for the flag if they could.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, because they're a bunch of water walkers.
But they're supposed to be about freedom.
Right. And they're not.
And that's where I was going with.
Well, I was doing the same thing. It was just a different example.
It went a little further.
Yeah, it was just a different example. I was using like the island, like, we never got the list because of who's on it. And if there was one political side was on that list and not the other, we'd have gotten it in 30 seconds. Yeah. Boom! It would have been it would have been poured all over us like holy water. Like, no, the reason that list never came out is because there was a lot of people that were flying in and out of there, and they were Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives. Like, just because you want to put your name in lights and put an R after it doesn't mean shit to me. Like, there's just a lot of bad people in the world, and they're trying to normalize some shit. So I appreciate, like, Tim, even though it stresses me out to see that shit sometimes through the day. I understood what he meant by going back and just watching nostalgic commercials and just to disconnect from it for a second, because it is just, man, it's so sickening and it just upsets you so much. Like, but I appreciate him bringing light to this and calling these people out.
Right, I can understand,
because it definitely makes me I'm being even more careful. I have a 2-year-old, and I'm wrestling, like, school. What am I gonna do with my child growing up? Am I going to let them attend public school? Am I going to put them in a private school? Am I going to homeschool them? Like, I don't know. It's scary.
But and again, this is where I see some people being agitators. Like, they take the most extreme version of a very liberal school where they're fine with that.
And the school was.
And they try to portray that as all public schools across this nation are following this.
And I loved it because that was a private school that was doing it.
Okay.
And the school, when the video, it was from Private Veritas.
Oh, okay, yeah,
right?
Project Veritas.
Yeah, Project Veritas. And when Veritas released the video, and this guy's just bragging about all this sick shit, Tim said himself, he thought, well, this is it. Now that the video's out, like, this school, they're going to fire this guy. I think he was a superintendent, actually.
Oh.
And the school doubled down and supported him. Right. It's part of our sexual education, like, inclusion and all this. So, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? Like, if you want to pay $40,000 a year to send your kid to that school, I mean, should you be free to do so? So there are some things in there that I wrestle with, and I guess as long as the information was known to the parents, and they agreed, I mean, like, who am I to get between a parent and their child and how they want to rear them and raise them? I don't want someone telling me when I have to have the sex talk with my kid about the birds and bees, right? Like,
let's say one step further. What if you lived in a very rural school that taught gun control, and they had a firearms instructor come in with guns, and then all of a sudden now someone in
we used to when we were kids.
But then somebody in LA says this isn't right to be taught in schools. They shouldn't be bringing guns into school. It's just gonna make these kids
Right.
more schools, blah, 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 right?
Sure.
So now what?
Right. Yeah. These are the hard things that we have to wrestle with as a society. Especially when it comes to children, what's going to be tolerated and what's not. But I think a lot of this has been done behind the parents' back, where they don't have any say so or controls over it.
And that's why I said it is good to get it out there.
Right.
So, because there might be parents that don't know.
Right.
So let's, okay, get it out there. But when it becomes, like you said, the fucking club you're beating the other side with.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
When it's just used as an agitation point.
I think what happens is what we're seeing happen is the division and what do they call it? Peaceful divorce. You know what I mean?
In one of our earlier videos, we talked about this, right? You were talking about someone that tried taking $9,000 out of their bank.
Right.
And they had some problems. They ended up getting their money, but they kind of had a hard time. They wanted them to get cashier's check.
Right.
And then I brought up the point, like, how many people are watching his videos because I brought up the statistics of the savings of the American public.
Right.
How many of these people even had $500 in the bank account? So what was he really doing? Right. He was agitating his base to something that had zero effect on their life.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the people listening,
probably didn't
at most had
$1,000
in their bank.
Right. They couldn't withdraw that much money anyway.
So that's where I see it as, again, a club to beat the other side. It's just an agitator. It's a feather rustler.
Freedom, kind of like you're free, like it's your money. You should be able to take it out. And you know what? You shouldn't have to answer any goddamn questions except this is a photo ID of who I am. This is me. This is my card for this account. I have this in there. I want to take it out. What I'm doing with it, I want to go, you know what? I want to go spend the weekend with Hunter Biden, smoking crack, banging hookers. Fuck you. It's my money. Give it to me. So I'm very much like that. It just pissed me off that they even had the audacity to ask. But I did see the other part of the argument, too, of is this person being robbed? You know what I mean? Like, is someone out in the parking lot with a gun saying, go in there and get your $9,000? What's this for? I don't know. And then, it tips the bank off that maybe something nefarious is going on. I guess I can see that too. But yeah, I don't think he was himself, I don't think was intentionally trying to rile the base, because I don't think he's as political as you think he is. But I mean, maybe some clickbait for it.
That's what I'm thinking more of. This is an opportunity.
Sure.
Because I wholeheartedly believed it happened.
Right.
But I don't think this is the first time it's happened to him. Because I gave you 3 examples in my life that it's happened to me.
For me,
I mean, they asked me that
happened. I could see with a loan.
They weren't like what do you need this much? They were just like, hey, it's not really safe to have that much cash. Could you do a cashier's check? It'd be a safe form, because if you walk out of here and someone. You have no protection once you go on the other side of that door.
Which I can appreciate.
You get robbed, that money. So it was more, I felt it was more like they were just looking out for one of their customers. Like, just making sure I understood the dangers of carrying $12,000. And what if you take it down to this guy and he robs you that you're buying this vehicle from?
Right.
Like, your money's gone, and,
And we know that happens. Right.
And so they were like,
a lot of people got robbed.
At least with a cashier's check, you could stop it.
Yeah.
You could,
Right.
So I didn't see it like they were accusing me. They didn't make me fill out a form saying exactly where I was spending the money. And it was just like, are you sure you want to carry this much cash to go buy a car?
Right. Yeah, and I can see it from that point. I mean, the whole idea of...
Now, I could have gone on YouTube or at social media and been like, I could have walked right out of the bank, camera on, these MFers, didn't want to give me my money. And the other thing the bank was like, okay, they're a large bank, right?
Yeah.
So how much money are they supposed to keep in their vault?
Right.
Because Joe Blow can come from Texas and have $100,000 in his account. And then I want to come in there and take $12,000, and Mary Sue wants to come in there and take $20,000.
Like, someone can't get $50 out of it. Right.
Like, how much cash are they supposed to keep in their vault for every customer in the United States decides to come to that branch and take all their money out?
I guess it would have been better had the bank been like, well, can you take X amount today and then X amount tomorrow? Yeah.
One time we went and bought a vehicle, that's what they said. They said, I think we were taking like It was right around
Yeah.
that 9,000. They're like,
Right.
look, we can only give you this much here. I'm going to call to the other branch, and we had to drive
Yeah.
down to where you came from
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll have the other
That I
ready
could
for you down
understand.
there.
I can understand that. The bank saying, we don't have that much,
Right,
funds.
because
Like,
we got to have enough.
right, to keep transactions going for the day,
Right. Because they only get money delivered every
Pete's
whatever.
going to drive through the drive-through to cash his check, right, this week. So
Right.
you got to be able to,
But
I could understand.
I could have walked out of the bank, though, and flipped my phone on, and these MFers are making me,
And
they
no
won't
doubt,
give me all my money, and I could have got a bunch of hits.
People use that for clickbait or to shore up their tribalism, more people in their tribe, right?
Right.
They're trying to solicitate
Right.
people over to their side
I
of
just think it further, creates that divide.
Right. I guess
to
to
things
me,
that really.
I think the divide's there now. I don't know that we can bridge it anymore, man. Like, God, shit I'm seeing in the world now. I think we're
because that
we're
means
down the
they
road.
won.
I think they did.
That means they won, and I just
at least round one. Yeah.
I just believe that.
Like Tim Pool said earlier about it turning violent now, and like he just doesn't see how, when the divide's this bad, like how it doesn't escalate now. And I was really thinking about that while he was talking, and I thought, I kind of agree with him, and I hate it because I want, like I told my son earlier, I want to go to Rome, right? I want to go to Athens. It's on my bucket list. It's my dream. The last thing I want is the world falling apart and going to shit. 20 years ago, it wasn't a big deal to just travel, right? Everybody traveled.
You gotta go further back. You're misremembering now.
What?
Well, you gotta go further.
Yeah, you gotta go further back, right?
You gotta
Not
go
20.
Yeah.
I'm a little older than I thought. Yeah.
Just think about that. I know, but just think about what you just said. Like, holy shit.
That changed it. Yeah. When 9/11 really did. But okay, even. Let's go before that, but some of these places I wanted to go, even after 9/11, wouldn't have been that big of a deal outside of having them stick a wand up your ass and make you take your shoes off. But yeah, that kind of changed the world. That 9/11 really did. But I want to be able to do some of these things.
Well, we can go even further than that. Yeah. T.B. Cooper changed travel, right?
Yeah,
because before that, you didn't even need an ID.
No, you didn't even need an ID, right? Yeah. And I still say. He made it. He made it with his money. I watched so many documentaries on that. And people cheered for him, right? They were like, good for him, man. He fucked the man and got away with it. I want to be able to do these things, and if the world breaks in half the way it is, like, I might not, and it's my dream. Like, I want to go see these ancient ruins that people fucking built, 5,000 years ago, and like I've watched so many documentaries and seen so many pictures and videos. Like I just want to see it in real life once. So I don't want this to happen. I want people to get along and be okay being different. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You're black, I'm white, I'm brown, you're yellow. Like, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't matter.
I think this very thing that started to rip us apart is what's going to save us.
I hope so.
Because I think the gig's up. I think people are starting to figure out the manipulation. I think we're still hearing the loudest percentage points on both sides here.
Yeah.
And I think the larger center is waking up.
I hope so.
That this is a bunch of horse shit. Well, you were saying black and white, right? Look at how many black conservatives are prominent YouTubers and podcasters now.
Right. A lot.
I think that is helping people realize, like, this divide isn't as big as it made out to seem to be.
It just pissed me off because there was a while in our life where, like, there was a little piece of time where there was harmony. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I just remember, like, no one never thought of each other. Like, my where I grew up, we were very mixed. You know, no one gave a shit. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? What your background? We just kind of judged you on, you're an asshole, you're a nice person. And then things got so polarized, like, through our life, you could just see it kind of going down that path. And now it's so hyper polarized. Jesus, like, I don't know. I hope you're right. I hope the majority of people wake up and push back and say, look, to the friends groups on either side, because it's both sides doing that. I agree with that 100%. It's there's profit in war, right?
Well, and I think they used to be able to keep us divided in our sides, right? Whether it's Fox News or CNN,
right?
Like they were able, because again, like, well,
they
I believe in guns, so I gotta align with whatever Fox News says, right? And well, I believe in abortion, so I gotta believe everything CNN says. I gotta get in that tribe. But now they don't have the control.
Yeah.
The people have the control because we can go on here and do this.
And we're starting to. I mean, it's hard because of shadow banning, but we're starting to see that fracture, and we'll see what Elon does with Twitter. Like, I'm still not 100% convinced that he's the messiah of technology.
No, again, don't put your faith in any one individual.
I got some feeling that there's, like, the devil's greatest trick was convincing everyone he didn't exist, right? And it just seemed to me in my lifetime, it's the person that's always screaming, "I'm your friend, I'm your friend, I'm your friend." Usually the one who's not, and I don't know. But the things he has done for Twitter has been pretty good. I'm glad that at least, some people are unbanned and able to get their content out there, because like with what happened with Ye or Kanye, whatever the fuck you want to call him, it pissed me off. Like, I didn't agree with anything he said. I thought was ignorant and tasteless, but he has a right to say it. And I don't see where that was inciting violence. Like, for Elon to cancel him out, like, I think was bullshit. It's just another person being in control.
Right.
And okay, maybe they're a little bit more conservative now than they used to be. And people are celebrating this, and I'm kind of watching it going, well, yeah, but isn't he doing the same shit they were doing on the other side by saying that? I mean, how's he any better? He's not.
And I think there's enough people out there speaking out against.
I hope so.
Like what Ye was saying, that the message is getting out, right?
I hope so.
Like,
I think so.
And silencing anybody.
And I think you're right. In the end, as we evolve, because all this is new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We got 20 years of experience, and a million years of humans being on this rock. We got 20 years of experience with this shit. I hope, and I think we will someday get there where we're kind of in the middle. Where we really are taking advantage of technology to benefit and stand away from the scarier sides of it.
And this is where I get on board with like Ian Crossland, like open sourcing the codes to this shit, freeing the software, getting the gatekeepers out of the way. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, Ian's got a shit together
for the free, for people to be able to see what's really going on here with these algorithms.
Actually, I've seen him kind of, as far as I was concerned, actually beat Tim in a couple of debates lately. Tim didn't think so. One of them, he said it was the absolute dumbest thing he'd ever heard Ian say, but it was one of the things I most strongly agreed with him on. It's like, it was really, there's been, Ian's coming out of his shell more and more, I think, and I've really enjoyed listening to his commentary.
I'd love to sit down with that guy for 4 hours and just let him talk and just listen and just absorb.
Right. Yeah, there's a few people that, he would be one of them. Have lunch with and just, all right, go.
Have lunch with? No, sit down in this chair.
Or that, come on, buddy, help us out.
Sit down here and just talk.
Dave Rubin was another one that I just always wanted to just.
I don't know enough about him. I hear his name come up, but I don't. And I've seen on Rumble, I think it is. Is it the Rubin Report?
Yeah,
is he
the
one
Rubin Report. Yeah.
It might have been YouTube. One of them.
Yeah,
I caught like a little clip of him, but I just don't know enough about him.
Yeah. Him and his.
He must be on that list too, because.
Oh yeah, he was canceled.
His content doesn't.
Yeah, he
pop
was.
up.
He was shadow banned and canceled and shot down. Well, for one, he was liberal, and he's gay, right?
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah, he's gay. He's married.
Oh.
And they just had 2 babies. Like,
wow.
Actually, I think they did use their semen and surrogate mothers and did it that way, but they got a 4-month-old and a 2-month-old now.
I'll have to look into him more.
But he broke all the rules. He's gay and he's liberal and he went conservative and he left L.A., went to Florida.
Oh.
Big
And they.
big supporter of DeSantis, you know, and it's cool though. He's brilliant. You know what I mean? He's brilliant. He just sat down with Bill Maher and
Huh.
hammered it out. And
Listen to that one.
he's really good. Now, does he fall into some of the pitfalls of the conservative movement?
Mm-hmm.
I think once in a while. It's hard when you're a big personality person out there in social media to not fall into him. Even Tim Pool falls into him, but I would put him as far as like the fairness gauge of honesty and integrity. I'd put him there with Tim Pool any day. Yeah, he's just brilliant, and I would love to just to be able to have dinner with that guy, sit down and just open up. The floor's yours. Go. I'm just gonna take notes. Like yeah. He would be one. Ian would be another one. Like, yeah, Ian would be fun to hang out with and just let him go. You know what I mean? Just wind him up and say, go.
Yeah.
It's yours. I'm just going to take it in. Yeah.
Because he's had a lot of life experiences.
Right.
He's lived a lot of different places.
Yeah. And he was just talking about like kids and movies and LA and California and how I didn't know that, but he was an actor.
Yeah.
He'd been in a couple of commercials or something. He had said, but while he was out there being a young adult, even that was vicious, and they were constantly trying to get him to do porno, and like I was like, wow.
Did you see he wrote a book?
Yeah. I did not know that. Yeah
I heard it on the podcast when I was listening to it. Yeah, I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's cool. Heck yeah.
What do you think?
We can do a shorter video today if you want.
I didn't know if you want to get out hunting or.
Yeah, I'm gonna hunt today.
Yeah.
Try to.
I know I'm
put
debating.
A little more meat in the freezer.
I'm debating if I want to wait for muzzleloader to be over and take my bow out. I know I don't have to wait, but I was kind of because we haven't been out here.
Yeah.
So I've been just kind of icing it.
Right.
Giving deer a safe place to come to where they're not being pursued, and I was like. And then once we get past muzzleloader, it definitely quiets down because there's still guys out there that can fill a buck tag right now.
Right.
But after this weekend,
it's done, and then back to bow. Actually, I got my bow with me today, so.
I have a doe tag, and I thought about filling it with my bow.
Yeah.
And I have some Christmas vacation coming up, and I thought, well, the weather's nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing it then.
Be a fun time.
Yeah. I want to get another one with the bow, so I'm just I'm debating what I want to do.
Yeah, that's why I had the rifle, and because you could use it, but and then I had the bow, and I kind of went back and forth, and I messaged you, said, man, I'm kind of bouncing back and forth on what to take, and then I picked the bow up, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna take the bow. It's just special.
I shot the other night, it felt good.
Yeah.
I ran right out there, had like 20 minutes of light left. I'm like, I gotta shoot, and I got out there and slung some arrows, and it felt really good. Bow shot. I hadn't shot it since I shot my buck.
Right.
And man, it was just
lobbing
them in there. I was like, oh man, it
Yeah.
was a little harder to draw than I remember because I hadn't shot it in a month.
Yeah.
But
that and drawn it in colder weather too, man. Like, your muscles are a little stiffer when it's cold out like that,
Well, I shot that deer the 29th of October, and I hadn't shot it since then, so it's been a month. But yeah, it felt good.
Yeah. Yep. There's something magical about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I was thinking we were talking about quieting the mind in one of the podcasts, and a guy at work was talking about how your mind being going and shit, and I had sent you that video on what a ADD mind is like, how you walking around your house and shit.
Good.
And I was thinking about all this. I think my overdoing it of certain tasks, I think, is to quiet the mind.
Right.
Because I have to focus on these things and I can't think of anything else. It's like, it's like building that mount for that Euro mount. Like things like that. Like I have to focus and measure, and it's like I can't.
Yeah.
But when I'm not doing those things, it's like, it's just constant
idle
constant,
hands,
constant,
man.
yeah, it's just,
Yeah,
so I think there's some, and that might be a problem for a lot of people.
I think
You
it
know,
is.
it's just too much time of
Yeah.
sitting and thinking
Yeah.
and not
Idle
enough time
time.
of tasking.
Right.
Finding stuff to do, finding,
Yeah.
whether it's working out or a hobby or,
Something,
just something.
Find something you enjoy doing and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Gardening, flowering, baking, whatever, if you don't know how to bake, like I didn't know how to bake until the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Now
you're pretty good at it.
Yeah. Now I made Christmas. They're all gone now. I didn't even get to save yet. I made Christmas cookies the other night.
Oh, my favorite cookie.
Oh man. And they're almost guilt free, because they're sugar free, low carb.
Right.
Oh my God, they're so good. We smashed them. We smashed them.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things, you got to concentrate. You got to focus.
Right.
You got to keep track of the timer on the store. It doesn't give your mind a lot of time to wander. And,
Right. Yeah,
I think it's important because
there's something to be said for that, I think.
So I think, I wonder if sometimes people, because we were talking about this the other day too, the family and I, about people being outraged about things and finding conflict because life has become so easy.
Yeah.
And
I would agree with that.
We're not out searching for firewood anymore now, and now it's like our mind has all this time, because even the jobs, right? Like even work has become probably easier than because of technology, because of automation. Right. We don't, we're not doing the things we used to do that occupied a lot of our time and wore us out,
Right.
So now we have all this stored up energy, and we're trying to find some way to channel this.
Yeah.
And it seems like it gets channeled into shit, that does not do us any good.
I think
it's a detriment.
That definitely makes sense. Yeah.
So I think if people found more things to occupy their times that were constructive, that added value to their lives, their family and friends' lives, like make something for a friend or a neighbor and take it to them. Bake them some cookies or cake, or make them some craft item, and give you something to do and make you feel better.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. I like it.
All right. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, leave comments, follow us. Following helps a lot.
Help us out.
I saw we had a comment. Someone wanted to just talk about Asian carp problems, so we'll have to do some research on that, because I know
that's a good one. Let's dig into that.
It was a big deal there for a while, but it's out of my
it just kind of got, I don't know.
So the fact that someone left that as a comment on our YouTube, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
See what the deal is across the United States and
let's
locally
dig into
here.
that. We'll get on it in our next video for sure.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Love and peace.